The U.S. Department of Homeland Security is a key institution for ensuring safe, secure, and responsible AI standards in cyber defense. So we're so excited for our fireside chat on DHS's priorities for AI governance. We'll welcome first our moderator, Nicolas Miailhe, President and founder of the Future Society, with Rob Silvers, Undersecretary, Department of Homeland Security. Thanks both.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm really delighted to welcome Rob again to the Athens Roundtable. I think you were with us a few years ago. And in the span of these few years, oh my God, so much has happened in AI capabilities and also in AI governance. And you are in a position of leadership where a lot is happening. That's why we're very delighted that you're with us this morning to discuss all of that. I may start with the first question that pertains to the fact that, well, an increasing number of people are getting more and more worried over the potential exponential growth of a new type of cyber attacks that would be enabled by these new generative AI applications powered by these foundation models on accounts that they are, well, potent, that they are pervasive, and in so many ways they are proliferative in nature. And also that over the past few months, we've also seen a new set of tools being released that are rendering this model particularly agentic. And so people are worried, and particularly worried as we're getting into an election cycle. So should we be worried? How are we getting prepared? And what are you doing at the Department of Homeland Security to prepare for all of these emerging threats?
Nico. Is this on? Nico, thank you so much, and it's great to be back at the Athens Roundtable. That was in 2021 when I was here last, but I just have to say for everybody in the audience that Nico has been at this for far longer than that. I began working with Nico and others here, Cyrus and Yolanda, at the Future Society, at least in 2018, and you guys were at it well before then, and way before artificial intelligence was at the level of international attention that it is now. And so the Future Society and you as a leader have really been out in front of this issue, and now the entire world is benefiting from that because so much incredible thought leadership and attention has been paid by people like you and your organization to this point. So I want to thank you for that. On the question of how artificial intelligence, it's going to affect everything in our society, and it's going to affect cybersecurity too. It's interesting because there's applications for artificial intelligence to support both cyber attacks and cyber defense. And in some ways, it could be an arms race. Those who intend to do us harm, whether they're criminals that want to automate their fraud scams so that they don't have to personally write the phishing emails and the like, or can write better and more tailored, convincing fraudulent messages, they're going to be supported by artificial intelligence. Nation states that really seek to carry out espionage or even destruction through cyber attacks may be aided by the use of artificial intelligence. So it is something to worry about. There's no question about that. But we, even before generative AI took this conversation to a new level, we had been working in the Biden administration at harnessing artificial intelligence as a very powerful tool for cyber defense. Right now in cybersecurity, it is very difficult to keep up with the sheer volume of attacks, to know what's anomalous in a very large network architecture. Artificial intelligence can help humans defend their networks. And so in the president's executive order on October 30th, President Biden asked the Department of Homeland Security to lead the national effort in leveraging artificial intelligence for cyber defense. And so, yes, it's something to worry about, but it's actually something we've been thinking about for a long time and that we are right on top of.
Well, this race between, by the way, thank you for your very kind words. It's much appreciated. And it's an opportunity also to congratulate the entire team on putting the program together over the years. This race between offense and defense is not new, if anything. But it seems that, and this is what I was alluding to before, it seems that the characteristics of these new types of models, render it probably more intense and favoring offense all the more. And that's why when we're trying to build these cyber defense capabilities to keep up with the race, more and more people, and I know you have been talking about the need to deliver transformational change in how we build international cyber defenses. May I want to speak about what it has meant in practice in your day-to-day work and in how you have implemented the priorities at the department, particularly this International Cyber Defense Cooperation?
It's just critical whether you're talking about cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, other technology challenges. These are challenges that are kind of border agnostic in a way. These kinds of digital security, trust, and safety issues are the same no matter where your technology sits. People's private data is at stake. People care about that across borders. People care about having reliable, secure networks across borders. It's also a huge burden on companies to have to align themselves to 190 different regulatory regimes. That's in an era of global technology. That's not really workable, but that is, in some respects, the patchwork that we find ourselves in now when it comes to global regulations on things like privacy, on things like cybersecurity, and other technology challenges. Here, with artificial intelligence, we actually have an opportunity that we need to seize at an early stage, a relatively early stage, to develop harmonized approaches with like-minded countries on these AI trust, safety, and security issues. And we're committed to doing that. We're participating very actively directly with the EU in forums like the G7. And I think there's going to be at the US-UK summit that happened very recently. At Bletchley Park. And more. And we really have paid a price in some ways for our balkanization, our regulatory balkanization in areas like privacy and cybersecurity. And I think that needs to serve as a spur for us to do better in AI. And that is another critical component of President Biden's executive order as well, is it commands us to develop the architecture of security and safety around this technology domestically, and in parallel to work with global partners to make sure that we're all aligned on approaches.
You talked about Bletchley Park and all the advances and all the the collective intelligence effort there to try and address some of the most extreme risks over what we call frontier models, or the most advanced models. The next summit will happen in 6 months in Korea, virtually, and then the following summit will happen 1 year from now in France. And France has a stance which is way more bullish in terms of open sourcing the weights, the data sets, and the source code of these models. And when I see the difference and the move from what we discussed at Bletchley Park and what the French may want to discuss, what, from your perspective, having to ensure the security of the homeland, including in the cyberspace, what would you hope for in building a solid bridge, a depolarized bridge between this more open versus closed access and sourcing of these models? Any hopes, any aspirations for what could be agreed upon in Paris?
This is one of those classic technology policy issues where there's just considerations pulling in different directions, and it's all about finding that right balance. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's hard to do on this issue. Open sourcing in technology has proved enormously beneficial in so many regards. Open source software has fueled, in many ways, our global economy. It's an incredible resource. It's efficient, but it also, and when it comes to artificial intelligence, technology. Likewise, you can imagine the incredibly beneficial uses that innovative people could put to work when they are equipped with models that are powerful and that they can use their creativity to drive new and innovative things that no one else had thought of before. So there's tremendous promise there. In the wrong set of hands, a lot of risk, because these models are incredibly powerful, and like any technology that's powerful, it can be used for bad. Now, this is not the first time that humankind has faced this kind of dilemma. There are a lot of technologies that are enormously beneficial in the right hands and enormously risky in the wrong hands. And I mean, the knife, fire, right? I mean, really, I don't mean to be glib, but what we have done over time is cars. I mean, we've made rules of the road, right? We have criminal laws, we have civil laws, we have norms and expectations, we have values. Parents teach their kids, don't start fires, or only under controlled conditions. On top of that, there's criminal penalties if you do it in a certain way. So it's sort of, finding that balance between where's that sweet spot? And is it ever, that you've nailed it completely? That's probably too much to hope for in this space. But I am optimistic that there's some middle ground, some common ground to hit. The president, as part of his executive order, directed us to look at this issue and come up with some recommendations. And that's something we're going to have to do with international partners too.
Yeah, well, I must say that yesterday, after the open program, we had a fantastic and deep conversation in a closer session on these issues that precisely demonstrated how complex are these issues, demanding everyone to be pragmatic and to move beyond ideological stance on all sides. And that's going to be a tall call that everyone has to take together. I know we're running out of time, but I have a few questions I want to put on the table before we break. If you could share with us some of the successes and the lessons learned from implementing the AI strategy at the department, I think it could be interesting, because we have an audience of practitioners, and we are all looking forward to seeing and hearing what are the successes and challenges you have and you are facing in implementing that strategy.
So just philosophically, a lot of security conferences, AI governance conferences, it can quickly take on a doom and gloom vibe. And, I think we have to approach these issues from first, the starting point that this technology is going to do so much revolutionary good. It's going to cure diseases, it's going to equalize economic opportunities for people that didn't have every advantage growing up, and so much more. There are real risks, and they have to be contained. And so the goal is to build an architecture of security around the incredible technology. At the Department of Homeland Security, we are leaning into artificial intelligence. We are using it right now to detect fentanyl and other drugs from coming across our borders. We are using it to detect products coming in that may be made with forced labor, using AI-enabled supply chain mapping. You think about the opportunities for streamlined and more secure airport security screening, and on and on. As we adopt this, we're doing it within frameworks of responsibility, where we respect privacy, where we ensure that there's not pernicious bias in the algorithmic decision-making, and that it's fully respectful of civil rights and civil liberties. All of that's going to happen, and so it's about that package. It's about the good and cushioned against the risks. And so we have learned, that's the lesson we've learned, is that there's a lot of opportunity here and opportunity to do it securely, and that's how we're approaching the work.
Okay, and in so many ways to govern the rise of AI, a framework for responsible adoption so that you get to know what are the capabilities is useful. There is potentially a virtuous feedback loop between adoption and governance and regulation. In closing, I'd like to hear a bit more about views on, we've seen that the voluntary commitments that the administration has secured from the industry were meant to be only a building block, a stepping stone towards a proper governance regime, binding on everyone. which of these commitments do you think could be taken forward globally and through which vessel? For example, the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime, which is this legally binding instrument, bringing together so many countries under the aegis of the Council of Europe to combat cybercrime. That's an example. There could be others. So what about the vessels and both these key commitments and key practices?
So I think the voluntary commitments that the White House announced together with many of the leading AI companies are going to be seen as a historic moment, as sort of the start of bringing order to this space, but not the finish. And it has to be developed at a level or 2 or 3 detailed down as to what all that means in practice, and then it has to be codified as appropriate, whether through regulations, treaties, policies, and the like. I think that in terms of putting the meat on the bones, what we're doing is we are standing up at the Homeland Security Department, and the president asked us to also do this under the executive order, an artificial intelligence safety and security board. Half the members are going to be all the federal leads for AI, and half the members are going to be companies and academic experts and researchers and NGO experts in AI governance and safety and security to develop the next level of meaning of what are the best practices for safety and security so we can really bring those voluntary commitments to life in practice.
Well, that's exciting, and look forward to cooperating with you on these aspects. And I know we're running out of time, so I want to thank you again, and the Secretary, Rob Silvers, for your time this morning and for your leadership over the past years on these issues. Thanks a lot for being with us this morning.
And your leadership as well. Thank you, Nico.
Thank you, sir.